Since its establishment in 1964, the Nigerian Air Force has continued to play critical roles in sustaining Nigeria's national security as well as in peacekeeping operations on the African continent. Though with some teething challenges at its infancy, the Nigerian Air Force has grown over the years to become a formidable and respected professional fighting force to be reckoned with in the African continent and even beyond. Her contributions in internal security, peacekeeping and humanitarian operations in the Gambia, Mozambique, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Mali, and Guinea-Bissau has not only been a source of pride, but has also projected Nigeria as a reliable regional power that has helped stabilize other nations and stood firm in defense of democracy. However, prior to 2015, the Nigerian Air Force witnessed a steady decline in its operational capabilities as most of its platforms, especially fighter aircraft, were grounded. The downswing in Nigerian Air Force's fortune became more manifest and much more pronounced with the emergence of various security challenges in the country. Today, the narrative of the Nigerian Air Force has changed positively, while its fortunes have become restored under the current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. On assumption of office in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari prioritized national security at the top of his agenda. This visionary step has profoundly impacted positively on Nigerian Air Force's operations, as in the last 6 years, the service witnessed enhanced professionalism and recorded laudable achievements in the fight against insurgency, armed banditry, kidnapping, and other forms of criminalities in the country.
It is the coming of the President that we look at the problems confronting the armed forces in relation to the fighting going on in the northeast, in that initial state before the banditry in the north central or in the northwest, and we took our decisive measures to improve the quality of weapons, the quality of training.
These have been greatly facilitated by the acquisition of new platforms and reactivation of existing ones, coupled with unprecedented capacity development of Nigerian Air Force personnel in different categories of air and ground functions. Indeed, through a systematic acquisition and reactivation strategy, the Nigerian Air Force witnessed a tremendous boost to its aircraft holdings across various fleets.
The federal government has acquired 23 brand new aircraft to boost training and combat readiness of Nigerian Air Force. These include the 3 GF-17 Thunder multi-role aircraft inducted in the Nigerian Air Force inventory.
The government has embarked on an ambitious platform acquisition for the armed forces of Nigeria, of which the NAF is a major beneficiary and most expensive assets indeed. This has led to the acquisition and induction of some state-of-the-art platforms into the NAF fleet, some of which include the JF TAC-17 aircraft, the A-29 Super Tucano fighter aircraft, airborne into Nigeria.
We and the Army are elated to hear that they are coming soon. I've been in touch with the Cho Air staff. I was there when he briefed that they will come in July, and I was actually very happy that they are coming, because I believe that now there will be game changers in our fight against insurgency.
At about 2 p.m. local time on 22nd July 2021, the first batch of 6 A-29 Super Tucano aircraft out of the 12 already purchased by the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration touched down Kano,
You may also recall that on 22nd July 2021, the Honorable Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, and my humble self received 6 brand new A-29 Super Tucano aircraft at Kano base. In the next few days, we shall be witnessing the induction of these 6 A-29 Super Tucano aircraft.
And of course, as we look ahead to the induction of additional platforms of the Air Force, I think it's only an opportunity to appreciate Mr. President for all the efforts that he has done, and of course all the approvals that he has given to the armed forces, and in particular the Air Force, for the enhancement of its operational capabilities.
It is expected that the remaining 6 A-29 Super Tucano aircraft, as well as unmanned combat area vehicles, will arrive the country before the end of the year. Other newly acquired aircraft in the early life of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration include 10 Super Mushak trainer aircraft, 5 new Mi-35M helicopter gunship, and 2 Pearl 412 helicopters. Others are 4 Augusta 109 power attack helicopters, 2 Mi-171E helicopters to boost Nigerian Air Force's air power employment capabilities in support of joint operations. Through the unwavering support of the federal government, 20 previously grounded aircraft, including the Falcon 900, ATR-42, Beechcraft, Super Puma, F-7NI, EC-135, DO 228, Mi-24V, Mi-35P, C-130 Hercules, L-39ZA, and Alpha Jet aircraft have been reactivated. Indeed, for the first time in its history, the Nigerian Air Force successfully conducted multiple in-country periodic depot maintenance on 2 C-130 Hercules, 3 L-39ZA aircraft, 2 Mi-35P, as well as 3 Alpha Jet aircraft. The acquisitions and reactivations, as well as the emplacement of robust logistics support structure, have enabled the Nigerian Air Force to raise the serviceability status of operable aircraft from about 35% in 2015 to above 70% as of 15 August 2021.
Mr. President has given his support fully to the Ministry of Defense, to the Nigerian Air Force. There is nothing that we take to him, we send to him to improve our work that he has not done. The President Chief of Air Staff have driven the Air Force to get approval of the federal government to get 24 fighter attack aircraft. It's called the M346. It is unprecedented in the history of this country. We have already signed agreement for the supply of 12, and be rest assured that we are going to get 12, some this year, and then the remaining ones will be supplied hopefully by next year. We're on track, and he is very much in support of the Nigerian Air Force getting these aircraft. As you are aware, when these aircraft finally arrived, they will ease the Alpha jets that have been in the inventory for a long time.
The entire Nigerian military commends the federal government on the series of platforms acquisition for the Nigerian Air Force, as it will give more bite to its support in joint military operations across the country.
Now we can take the battle to them, and all the necessary components and aircraft they can observe, interdict, and they can fire. and they can move in the night and do any other thing that is possible for us to reach our target. This is what we are doing now, and the commanders are firm on the ground. I mean, the air, the navy, and the army, they are all working together to see that operational plans are well executed.
With the induction of these platforms we're looking at, of course, gives us, places us in a better state to be able to have both, control from the area platforms, as well as, capacities to be able to give very close support to the ground forces, such that, after some form of interdiction that may have taken place, and of course with oversight coming from the ISR, capabilities of these platforms, then of course the land forces will be able to finish it up, from on the surface itself. And so for me, given the experiences we've had over the past 5-6 years, I think that the Boko Haram element, as well as the Islamic State in West African province, criminals that are still lurking around in some of the fringes of the Lake Chad, we should begin to look for other places where they will have any. Otherwise, of course, we'll crush them.
The significance of air power in a joint military operation can only be better explained by the servicemen who had been involved directly on ground with this kind of military operations.
Myself and of course all the service chiefs, we've been through it all. We've, over the years, been part and parcel of the system. We've been able to understand the realities on ground, the realities with respect to the services and the requirement for joint operations. And so with that experience, at the background of each of the service chiefs, it was only, a matter of time for us to say, look, if we must make progress, and of course, building on the mandate of Mr. President, if we must go forward, we have no choice but to do what is required. And I think, for me, I felt it's necessary to bring that understanding to bear, to them, which it was easy to do because they also know. And so, we're working for the same purpose. And I think that it's from that standpoint, and given their individual abilities, their individual, personalities, that has made it much easier for us to know, look, going for the objective, which is to root out whatever threats exist that bring us within the same operational environment. So we can only get better, and I'd like to perhaps use this opportunity to appreciate every one of them, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and Chief of Naval Staff, for the candor, the personality they brought to bear in administering the various services. And I think that this is precisely the way to go. And I believe that the nation, of course, the armed forces, stands, to gain from this synergized, mindset of problem solving.
The air has special capability in respect to other services also. Each one has his role, has his duty to do, but one of the assets the air has is the speed with which it can reach, the view it can have, the coverage and lethality, all these three combined in one place. And that's what, when there is effective synergy with the ground forces, is a game changer, and it brings the effect to bear immediately.
I would like to reassure the Chief of Air Staff, the Nigerian Navy's unflinching support towards realization of this noble ambition. The Nigerian Navy, of course, will continue to strengthen the already existing cordial relationship between us in the collective responsibility of ensuring national security.
I must confess that in the last few months, the synergy between the Chief of Defense Staff and the service chiefs has been very cordial and overwhelming. Since coming on board, we realized early enough that the importance and centrality of jointness as a prerequisite for operational success in the fight against insurgency, armed banditry, and other forms of criminality in the country. For us as service chiefs, the Armed Forces of Nigeria represent a single entity, and this has enhanced our synergy and cooperation of our troops, thereby translating to meaningful gains on the ground. I strongly believe that bringing together the expertise of the forces across the various services will further encourage intelligence sharing, which will enable coordinated and spontaneous responses.
Everybody knows the role of the Air Force in land, in air, and in any other form of operations in support of other forces on the land or sea. The Air Force can be a deciding service for the success of any operation. All I can say now is that we have better equipment, better synergy to achieve greater success.
The federal government in the last 6 years also invested substantially in the training and retraining of Nigerian Air Force personnel, both locally and abroad. Within the period under review, the Nigerian Air Force has winged over 139 pilots, while 233 other personnel of various trades are currently undergoing training.
For instance, in the last 6 years, about 139 pilots have been winged by the Nigerian Air Force, 10 out of which were winged in the last 3 months. In the same vein, a total of 195 personnel cutting across various specialties are currently undergoing training both at home and abroad. These efforts are no doubt historic milestones of the President Buhari-led administration's unwavering resolve to equip and energize the Nigerian Air Force, and indeed the entire Armed Forces of Nigeria, towards combating terrorism, insurgency, armed banditry, and other threats.
To enable the service train pilots for the growing platforms in its inventory, the training facilities at the 401 Flying Training School, Kaduna, has been enhanced in the last 6 years, which improved the training capacity of the school by about 700%. As a result, for the first time in about 3 decades, 401 Flying Training School was able to complete ab initio flying training for cadets of the Nigerian Defense Academy before their commissioning as officers. In the last 6 months, the current Nigerian Air Force leadership has embarked on several laudable programs and projects to enhance its service delivery.
We recently conducted a holistic assessment of our combat efficiencies to determine requirements in terms of air platforms, armament, communications, manpower, and medicals, among others, to raise the efficiency of the service to appropriate level to meet current and emerging national security imperatives. We have also devoted resources to non-kinetic operations aimed at winning the hearts and minds of the civil populace. These were achieved through the provision of medical facilities and school feeding programs at internally displaced camps in Borno State, conduct of medical outreaches to host communities of Nigerian Air Force units across the country, and we also provide airlift in support of national COVID-19 response, and also avail host community of our schools and medical facilities. We have also dedicated significant time and resources to capacity building of our personnel of other support trades, while placing high premium on the welfare of our personnel and their families to ensure enhanced performance in the field.
In the aspect of aircraft serviceability, the Nigerian Air Force has trained and retrained engineers and technicians to ensure adequate maintenance of its fleet. To bolster the morale of the personnel for effective service delivery, the Nigerian Air Force leadership has embarked on massive welfare interventions for the personnel and their families.
The welfare of our personnel has also received close attention as we have renovated, remodeled, and constructed new blocks of classrooms and hostels in existing Nigerian Air Force schools across the country. In the same vein, we have vigorously engaged in massive construction and renovation of residential accommodation to reduce the accommodation challenges in our bases. We have also sustained our efforts at expanding the post-service housing scheme to ease the burden of post-service life settlement for our personnel. Earthwise, we unveiled the telemedicine portal to ease our personnel access to quality healthcare that transcend borders. The Nigerian Air Force College of Nursing was also upgraded and accredited to offer HND programs. We have also continued to invest heavily in research and development, especially in unmanned aerial system technology, rockets, rocket launchers, heat shield, protective cones for the Alpha jets, rocket pods, among others. Only recently too, we have created a Directorate of Veteran Affairs to cater for the welfare needs of our retired personnel, as well as link up with other similar structures in sister services for the benefit of retirees. All these were done as part of our effort to boost our morale by improving personal welfare for effective and efficient service delivery.
The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao, charged the officers, airmen and airwomen of the service to remain resolute in discharging their duties.
We have also faced some challenges as well as some unfortunate incidences. Despite that, now more than ever before is the time that we as a service must show strength, determination, and remain undeterred and unrelenting until the entire nation is rid of terrorists and other criminal elements. To get to that point, we must continue to work assiduously in synergy with sister services and other security agencies to ensure that peace and security of lives and property are achieved.
The Nigerian military, and in particular the Nigerian Air Force, is not unaware of the support from the Nigerian people and other relevant stakeholders.
Right from day one on our appointment, and of course he gave us a marching order, it was very clear that he was going to give all the support that was necessary. So what you now find by way of outcomes of whatever engagement we've had is actually, by virtue of his direction and his fatherly disposition towards meeting the requirements of the armed forces. So I can only use this opportunity to appreciate Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, and of course the Minister of Defense, and of course all the members of the National Security Council, and the various ministers too who have had some form of interaction with in a view to ensuring that the armed forces live up to its responsibilities as enshrined in the Constitution.
Just have to appreciate the effort of Mr. President. He has left nobody in doubt about his commitment toward equipping the armed forces, and he has done, you can say, everything he can to support us with all our requirements. He has made frantic effort to provide. One of them is this Tucano that have been paid for a long time ago. Immediately they were identified as a critical requirement. What even delayed them, I believe, are other protocol and procedures. Otherwise, this have been paid long time ago, over 1-2 years ago, and which we must appreciate this effort by Mr. President.
Security of lives and property constitutes one of the three cardinal campaign promises of His Excellency President Buhari, GCFR-led administration. And accordingly, Mr. President has remained committed towards realizing this promise to Nigerians.
There is no gainsaying that President Buhari's uncommon leadership style has empowered the Nigerian Air Force, thereby enabling it to continually remain a key enabler and decider in the current war against insurgency and other forms of criminality in the country. Indeed, we cannot thank President Buhari enough except to reassure all Nigerians that these aircraft and other equipment purchased for the Nigerian Air Force will be put to good use in not only securing Nigerians' territorial integrity, but also in safeguarding their lives and properties. The Nigerian Air Force remain ever grateful to the President for his commitment towards enhancing our fleet disposition and for his exemplary leadership in the face of compelling economic priorities. We also pledge our unalloyed loyalty and reiterate our dedication to Mr. President's vision of a secure and prosperous Nigeria.
With a boost in its aircraft holding, the Nigerian Air Force is surely poised to enhance its operational capabilities as well as serve as a key enabler and decider in the fight against insurgency and other forms of criminality in the country. Nigerian Air Force, willing, able, ready.